easy. You gotta live life of love with God's man. You gotta live life of love with big things easy. With understanding, keep it best in your hand.
Please do not forget subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when we upload next. Terry Reid, the British musician with a voice so big they called him Superlungs, has left us at the age of 75. His UK representative shared the sad news, saying Reid had been fighting cancer in recent months. He wasn't a guy who topped the charts, but if you ask the right people like the Rolling Stones, Jimmy Page, or even Aretha Franklin, they'd tell you he was one of the best. Reid's life was full of wild moments, like turning down chances to sing for Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple. At 75, he's gone, but his story? That's one worth telling. Terry Reid came into the world in 1949, growing up in Cambridgeshire, England, a quiet countryside spot where you wouldn't expect a rock star to come from. But Reid wasn't your average kid. By his early teens, he was already singing and strumming a guitar, playing with a local band called the Redbeats. Music was in his blood, and it didn't take long for people to notice. When he was 15, something amazing happened. He got a chance to sing at a gig with Peter J and the Jaywalkers, and they liked him so much they asked him to join the band. Just like that, young Terry was on his way. By 16, he was sharing stages with the Rolling Stones on their 1966 UK tour, alongside big names like Ike and Tina Turner and the Yardbirds. Can you imagine? A teenager holding his own with rock giants. His voice was something else, loud, soulful, and full of heart. People started calling him Superlungs because he could belt out notes that shook the room. Even Aretha Franklin, one of the greatest singers ever, said in 1968, "There are only 3 things happening in England: the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, and Terry Reid." That's how good he was. Through his time with the Jaywalkers, Reid decided to go solo. He teamed up with Mickey Most, a big deal manager who'd worked with tons of famous acts. In 1968, Reid dropped his first album, Bang Bang You're Terry Reid. One of the songs, Without Expression, was something he wrote when he was just 14. Years later, artists like John Mellencamp and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young covered it. Pretty cool for a song from a teenager, right? Reid kept busy, hitting the road again with the Rolling Stones for their 1969 US tour. He also opened for bands like Cream and Fleetwood Mac. Around this time, he met Jimi Hendrix and the two hit it off. Reid wasn't just talented, he was connected. But here's where things get wild. Jimmy Page, the guitar genius from the Yardbirds, was starting a new band in 1968. He heard Reid sing and thought, "This is the guy I need." Page asked Reid to be the lead singer, but Reid said no. Why? He'd already promised to tour with the Stones in the US, and he wasn't about to back out. "I was intent on doing my own thing," Reid said in a 2024 chat with The Guardian. "I contributed half the band, that's enough on my part." Instead, Reid told Page about a singer he'd seen with a band called Band of Joy, Robert Plant. He also mentioned their drummer, John Bonham. Page checked them out and boom, Led Zeppelin was born. Reid could have been the voice of Stairway to Heaven, but he chose his own path. Believe it or not, that wasn't the only huge offer Reid turned down. In 1969, Ritchie Blackmore from Deep Purple came knocking. Their singer, Rod Evans, was out, and Blackmore wanted Reid to step in. Ken, Reid said no. "It was very flattering," he told The Guardian. Ritchie was one hell of a guitar player. But Reid wasn't into joining someone else's band. He wanted to do his own thing. Ian Gillan took the Deep Purple gig instead, and the rest is history. Turning down Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple? That takes guts. Reid wasn't after fame or big paychecks. He wanted to make music his way, even if it meant missing out on being a rock superstar. And honestly, that's what made him so special. Reid's time with Mickey Most didn't last. They didn't see eye to eye. Most wanted hit songs, Reid wanted art. After splitting up, Reid hit a rough patch with contract troubles, but he bounced back in 1973 with River. This album was different. Think folk, jazz, and soul all mixed together. Critics loved it, and fans still talk about it today. It's one of those records that didn't sell big but left a mark. Kept going, putting out Seed of Memory in 1976 and Rogue Waves in 1979. Seed of Memory, with help from his old pal Graham Nash, is another gem. Reid's voice shines and the songs feel personal. But even with all that talent, the albums didn't make him rich or famous. By the 1980s, he decided to take a break from solo stuff and moved to California. There, he worked behind the scenes, singing and playing for artists like Bonnie Raitt and Jackson Browne. In 1991, Reid gave it another shot with The Driver, produced by Trevor Horn. It even had a song, Gimme Some Lovin', in the Tom Cruise movie Days of Thunder. But Reid wasn't happy with it. He later called it unlistenable. It didn't click with fans either, and that comeback fizzled out. Reid might not have been a chart topper, but his music found a home with people who really listen. His old albums became treasures for music nerds and artists. Jack White's band The Raconteurs covered Rich Kid Blues, and folks like Marianne Faithfull and Chris Cornell sang his songs too. You can hear Reid's stuff in movies like Up in the Air and The Devil's Rejects, proof his voice still mattered. He kept performing too, wowing crowds with that Superlungs power. Later on, he teamed up with newer artists like DJ Shadow and Alabama 3. Even Dr. Dre, the rap legend, got in touch. Dre loved Seed of Memory so much he invited Reid to rework it with rappers. A fascinating experience, Reid called it. But then came the tough stuff. Cancer hit, and Reid had to cancel some shows. His fans stepped up, starting a crowdfunding page to help with medical bills. Terry's spirit remains strong, it said, and he's deeply grateful for the outpouring of care. That love showed how much he meant to people. When Reid passed, the music world felt it. Joe Bonamassa, a killer guitarist, wrote, "One of the greatest to ever do it and a beautiful person and soul." Guys like Graham Nash and Robert Plant have said over the years how much they admired him. Reid's wife, Annette, is still with us, carrying on his memory. So what's Terry Reid's story? It's about a guy with a huge voice and an even bigger heart. He could have been the face of Led Zeppelin or Deep Purple, but he chose his own road. That road wasn't always easy, no big hits, some tough breaks, but it was his. He helped shape rock history by passing the torch to others, and he made music that still hits you right in the chest. Terry Reid wasn't about the spotlight. He was about the sound, raw, real, and unforgettable. And that's how we'll remember him. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to daily updates and never miss a video.